We're back, kinda. It's hard to find time to make these short chapter analysis unless I prioritize it. To mangle a quote, life, gets in the way. But here we are, and now it's Quantum West, or rather it's Star Trek Ishmael's Chapter 14. Let's just dig right into it. So everyone returns to Seattle from San Francisco. Spock, who as you remember is called Ishmael, hence the title of the book, has made the money for their return passage by playing a bunch of chess. This is after everyone else loses a bunch of money, gets knocked out in a hospital, and basically the entire expedition is a failure. On return, Spock and Biddy Clume end up in a scene with a lot of romantic tension, but mostly ends with Spock staring at a fleur-de-lis necklace that Biddy Clume is wearing. This fleur-de-lis necklace reminds him of something. We know it as the Starfleet insignia, the Delta. I don't know if at the time that this novel was crafted it was called the Delta yet, but we know what Spock doesn't know, which is that the Delta, the Starfleet insignia, is a core memory that is imprinted in his head, and so he is beginning to remember things. In fact, he thinks of the name great-grandmother Larkin, which has to be someone on his mother's side. So he is recovering his memories slowly but surely, even though he is still Ishmael. Someone suggests at this moment that Spock should marry Biddy because they do have that tension, that romantic compatibility, but he says he cannot. He excuses himself by talking about hereditary insanity. We also get a chance here to dip into his inner monologue, where he says that he does not want to be involved in the problems of humanity. This for sure shows his Vulcan side, his attempt to detach from the emotions of those people all around him. However, he still imagines a half-human, half-alien child. We know what he would know if he were not under this amnesic spell for the purposes of plot, that this is a memory of himself in the future, his past, the actual future from the time period he's in. We know that he's seeing what will happen in the future, and this foreshadows and hints at what we will learn near the end of the book. This shows his human side, this wanting, this dreaming, this idea of maybe we could do this thing. This is very emotional because, as we know, Spock is one of the most emotional people of all time. That's why he keeps his rage tamped down. So we know that he's imagining the future, himself in the future, his past, though he doesn't know it. So the story is moving forward and makes sure that Spock is stepped away from any romance so that loose ends can be tied up. We're not sure exactly what's going to happen yet, if Spock is going to be rescued, or rather, how he's going to be rescued, because we know that Kirk and company, his boyfriend, or hetero life mate, if you're going to believe a multi-paragraph note in a Kirk narrated book, everybody's going to find him. Spock is going to return to his time. Things are going to go on as they will. The timeline will be restored, because that is what we want from these stories. It's really a simple chapter, and its point is to return things to normal. The status quo, that now that we have seen a great defeat, we have seen the failure of the Old West crew in order to fix things, now we can merge the two storylines together, the A and the B story, and only with both of the worlds, the past and the future, can things be resolved. Just like in Spock's inner conflict, he is going to have to resolve himself to be more Vulcan like he usually does, but he's going to have to be the master once again of the emotional tension between his half-human side and his Vulcan side. If we want to go in terms of the hero's journey, this means he becomes the master of two worlds. And as this is a older book, I believe that using a hero's journey construction would be a good way to analyze Spock here. Now, the attempt, this was the fun and games of the story. Adventuring in San Francisco, meeting Emperor Norton I, and especially the gambling. I believe that gambling is contractually required to be in a scene in any Western, just like a snowball fight or a final kiss is contractually required in a Christmas romance movie. And this return back to Seattle is a sense of defeat. It's the false defeat that then is going to lead up to the final climactic battles where Spock, Master of Two Worlds, Kirk, Master of Two Worlds, Aaron Stempel, Master of Two Worlds, and everyone actually solves the problem of the incursion of the Karsid Empire and the Klingons as well. So things are accelerating. The bet for Bridal Veil Mountain is coming to a close, and how specifically Kirk and company find Spock is going to remain to be seen. So we're given pause here with character heads, a breather before the action continues. So this novel, written like a television episode, as talked about, The Return marks entry into the third act. After all, We do need to know how Ishmael, aka Spock, is going to return to normal. And the book is named after Spock's nom de amnesia, if you'll allow a turn of phrase. So we know that this is a Spock episode, with Kirk and others providing the subplots, but it has to be Spock that solves the problem at the end. Will Spock get home? Of course he will. But how? Tune in next time, probably tomorrow, as I'm trying to get through these before the end of the year, for more Quantum West, where I hope you'll find out. See you next time.